These guys didn't want to sit and park and do nothing. They want to catch bad guys. They want to arrest bad guys. They want to feel like they're making a difference. They didn't want you to move, because if you did and you left that hotspot, then you just killed the whole experiment, because you are not doing what it's designed to do. They're basically pissing on your leg and telling you it's raining with this story.
The opinions expressed here do not necessarily reflect those of our sponsors.
Blu Wolf Podcast.
This episode of the Blu Wolf Podcast is brought to you by Blue Line Professional Inspections. Check out blinspections.net for all your inspection needs, including home inspection, wood-destroying insect inspection, sewer drain inspection, and on-site water treatment inspection. Blue Line is a first responder-owned business.
I wanted to talk about this new story that is out in the news, and it's in several from several organizations and news organizations, as well as periodicals from local San Antonio reports. And it has to do with this SAPD UTSA crime reduction initiative. I'm not exactly sure what they're calling it, and it doesn't matter, to tell you the truth, but there's a new story that came out basically saying that UTSA violent crime in San Antonio hotspots plunged 37% under new policing strategy. Now, mind you, that's the headline on that. And I have to say, to begin with, especially since I'm talking about it, that I'm happy that they're trying to do something about crime, because we all know that crime is up in the nation, obviously up in the cities. And I'm for, obviously, solutions to quell it and to lower it. I frequent San Antonio. I don't live in San Antonio, but I frequent San Antonio a lot. So does my family, friends, relatives. And lower crime helps keep them safe. But what I don't like is when you're beating around the bush to try to stop or quell it, like we're talking about, reduce it. And you know that it's going to take a long time to get there by whatever method you're using. And the method that they're using is to satisfy the anti-police whiners, the crybabies, the ones that are the hug-a-thug people that are so worried about criminals' rights and how many minorities are in jail, the statistics there. They are the big driving force of why we beat around the bush when we're trying to reduce crime. I won't say it's easy. It never is. There's millions of people in San Antonio. I couldn't even begin to say how many criminals there are. And what's a criminal? Is it a petty theft? Is it a murderer? Capital murderer? Arsonist? Things like that. But a crime is a crime. This story in the Express News it was on the front page, large, all the way across the newspaper. And what that shows is that they're trying to sell to the city, the citizens, that, hey, look, this initiative is working and crime is down all across the city, 37%. So if you read the article, and the link will be posted here, on its face, if you read it all, it is not lying about anything, but it's talking about the experiment that they are conducting with the SAPD. And it is an experiment. It has been designed by UTSA professors, academics, who, and I don't know if they claim to be experts or if they claim whatever expertise or field that they claim. I don't know that. Obviously, it has to be in criminal justice of some sort if they're going to get involved in this. But when you create an experiment, they have a process, and that process is followed, whether it be step after step or all together. And they know that if you don't follow that process to the T, on a kind of a regular basis, then the numbers won't show correctly. The outcome won't be as they want to, because it wouldn't be fair if you don't apply it the way it's designed. And again, that's great, but what I'm seeing with the way they presented it, and then you read the article and the way they tout it, is that crime is down all over San Antonio, and 37%. But when you read the article, and there's other articles that have picked this story up, it's really saying that crime is down 37% in the hotspots. Now, let me explain the hotspot. They, again, the bean counters, the number, the people that look at the numbers, they have determined that there are several hotspots within San Antonio, that this is where the majority of the crime is occurring. Violent crime, mind you. I need to say that. Not theft or traffic, anything like that. We're talking about violent crime. And now, violent crime is defined in different ways. The DOJ defines violent crime in a different way as well. So obviously, anything that I would say that could be injurious or deadly. So the hotspots, and what I determined and actually verified, many of them are in apartment complexes. And every once in a while, there's some that are in parking lots and of certain areas that are having a lot of problems. Let's say Ingram Mall. They're that's one of the hotspots in the parking lot. And Ingram Mall is Ingram Mall. If you know San Antonio, there's a lot of stuff that goes on there. I've known about Ingram Mall, for a long, long time. I try to avoid it when I can, but, even North Star Mall is getting bad too. It hasn't been for a little while. But you have to think, these hotspots, these apartment complexes, they are investor owned. They are privately owned by a group of investors. And when I lived in apartment complexes, they hired security, or they gave a discount or a free apartment to a police officer for security. If obviously, and I know I'm talking common sense, that these apartment complexes may or may not be gated. Many of them will have fences around them. They'll have 1 to 3 to 4 entrances to the apartment complexes, depending on the size. And I wouldn't even say the newer complexes are rid of crime themselves, because I worked some newer complexes and I had my hands full. The common sense thing tells you that if you park, and this was the first phase that SAPD was doing, they would park officers in a patrol car, marked patrol car, uniformed officers in the parking lot, and for I think I heard 15 minutes. I don't know, it could be longer, with their emergency overhead lights on, and just sit there. So mind you, these guys are Texas peace officers. They're police officers. Criminals are dumber than rocks a lot of times, but they're really street smart. They know if I was going to go in there to look for vehicles, say, to burglarize or someone to murder, I want to be as far away from the police as possible. And if he's sitting in the parking lot of that complex, I'm just not going to go. I'll come back another day. Or if I really, really want, I'll wait. Because these guys are only going to be there for a short amount of time. At least, let's say nowadays, depending on their duty hours, 10 hours, if that. But I don't think they were sitting there for 10 hours, to tell you the truth, because they had to move on to another hotspot. We don't have enough officers, because you're wasting an officer there for 10 hours. So just wait, and they're going to hit. These guys were also told, the officers were also told, not to arrest anybody. This was at the beginning, and because you had to sit there. And especially if you're sitting at one hotspot and let's say a crime is in progress, just up the way, you could get there first. They didn't want you to move, because if you did and you left that hotspot, then you just killed the whole experiment, because you were not doing what it's designed to do. You're not there for 15 minutes. So you just skewed it. Now, I would hope that when I heard that, I was like, that is just dumb. And I would hope, because if it were me, I would go, I don't care about this experiment. There's a crime in progress, and I can possibly save somebody's life. I'll go catch the bad catch and arrest the bad guy. What are they going to do? Not put me back in a hotspot? Please don't. Don't put me back. If I'm not doing its due diligence. Which kind of leads, and I don't want to get off the subject, but on that subject, one of the council persons had, when it first started, said that they interviewed some officers and that it wasn't very popular amongst the officers. And I'm still hearing that it's not very popular amongst the officers because they're sitting there doing nothing. You know who does that? Security guards. You hire a security guard that's not armed. He's got a phone and maybe a radio, I don't know, but they just sit there with their lights on and they do nothing because there's nothing for them. Well, for one, they don't have the capacity to do anything, but SAPD does. These guys didn't want to sit and park and do nothing. They want to catch bad guys. They want to arrest bad guys. They want to feel like they're making a difference. And basically, I think the quote was they didn't find it sexy, and no, it's not. No one wants to. I wouldn't want to do that. They're basically pissing on your leg and telling you it's raining with this story here. Because if you read into it, they say that crime across the city is only down 7%. That's across the city. But the hotspots are down 37%. Well, to me, number one, 7% isn't that much. 7% can also be attributed to just the ebbs and flows of life, just the way things don't run like this in life. In my own life, things are great. And then, you have a dip, something happens, I don't know, a car wreck, death of the family or whatever. And, time goes on and we get back up and that's just the way life is. But 7% can be attributed to it. That's just the way it went, because there's been times where we've had strings of like 6 officer involved shootings within, say, 13 days. And, oh my God, there's a spike. Well, that's just the way it goes. And then they want to know why it happened. Well, just the way it goes. I don't know. No one could ever find that answer. And then it quells and it goes on for a while. That's just the way it goes. So 7% is not a big deal. It's not something to celebrate, to tell you the truth. And 37% with the hot spots and these officers sitting there in these places, shouldn't it be higher? Shouldn't it be over 50% than what it's showing here, if we're actually concentrating on these areas here? But it's not. And I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer. I'm not trying to be negative about it. I'm just trying to bring light to something that is, to me, a false positive, so to speak. But they're selling it off and people tout it. And if you're a headline reader, which a lot of people are, they just read the headline and go, oh, great, crime's down. And then they move on. Next thing you know, they go down the way and they get carjacked. Hey, I thought crime was down. Well, they just moved them out of that hot spot and then they went somewhere else, maybe into your neighborhood.